Welcome into the crypto bunker. Um, Today we're going to be talking about what's going on in the markets. We are seeing some volatility, and so I just wanted to jump into the charts real quick and give you guys an update on where we are. If you've been following my Twitter, I was able to get out before this crash. It just didn't look right to me. It didn't feel right, and I just think that there's just some momentum that has been lost in the market, and the fact that we're getting rejected at like 38.50 is just not what my thesis was. January inflows of institutions would push us forward, and I thought that a lot of the factors were people that were tax loss selling, people that were leaving exchanges in China. There was many different factors, people that didn't want crypto on their books at the end of the year. And so a lot of those people, if those were true, of what a lot of people were saying, then we would have seen maybe a bigger rally here. I think that this has a lot to do with the sort of a macro shift that we're seeing with interest rates that will come into play. So that's being, continuously priced in. And although I did say before that I thought it may have already been priced in, I obviously have my biases, and none of what I say is financial advice. And we all have our biases, in the market. And especially when, you have leverage, you tend to, increase your biases a little bit more. And you tend to lean towards the bullish and ignore the bearish. But at the end of the day, we still caught support here at this wedge. And so, in my opinion, actually, it is sort of similar to what we saw here. This is sort of a similar looking wedge structure that we see that sort of played out here. It's not perfect, but we did see something like this that happened before. And when everyone was the most bearish, when we had this happen, that's when we rallied. But in this scenario, we haven't rallied. And unless tomorrow we come up all the way to like 37 at least, just for sanity purposes, just for the bulls to see something. I don't know. It just feels like this market's really heavy. It feels like there's not really the ability to lift us all the way up above some of these levels. And as you can see, this level that we were looking at, that we held support, and we held support here, and we held support here, we broke through it, and then it became the resistance. And so that's kind of was the telltale sign that we were going to come down lower to now this trend line. So, it's just a series of trend lines, and it's really what you believe. And I understand, like, my video on Ethereum that I did, Ethereum 2022 is the year of Ethereum. So let's be clear about that. 2022 will change the course of history for mankind, essentially. I mean, we're talking about a moon mission for Ethereum in terms of the development, right? But that doesn't mean that the price has to follow that. And I believe that going into ETH 2.0, there's going to be de-risking. We have tax season ahead. We have the Fed tightening ahead. We have then more liquid coins coming onto the market as ETH 2.0 is unlocked, which could be like sort of an event that people think will be bearish, but actually is like a sell the news, buy the rumor type thing. So I think that, it depends when ETH 2.0 is happening, but I think that will be what we need to look for at this point to take us higher. In reality, I mean, when I gave gave out the top on the weekly time frame, this, I mean, it did to me look potentially like a macro reversal. It was a classic gravestone doji on the weekly, which we really don't see very often. Especially at the top, something like this that gets rejected like that and then goes down. So I was lucky enough to get out at that point as well. And then, you know, yesterday decided to take more off the table just to make sure that I have coverage for my taxes, make sure that I, you know, not in any debt, things like that. But I'm willing to hodl it out. You know, I mean, a lot, you know, like the majority of my net worth is still in crypto or mainly Ethereum. At this point, I have lightened my altcoin positions. I still like Phantom. I like Polkadot and Kusama. I want to keep it towards, you know, the actual blockchains. I have a few other alts, obviously, that are on the ETH mainnet, and so I can't really sell them because it's the gas fees are so high right now. I'm potentially thinking about staking my ETH, but I might not. I might want to keep them liquid just in case. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. You know, with Polkadot and Kusama, you can stake like get 12%, 18%. And I actually believe in those projects long term. So you know, I'm a big fan of Gavin Wood and what they're doing there. So anyway, I don't want to be like you know, like the downer here, but we are sort of facing a strong dollar as well. We're facing a macro bull in the dollar. So the next levels to look at are, you know, if we kind of confluence here around 27 to 2800 is definitely a key level to look at possibly buying the dip. That's kind of like our macro bull last resort that I've always pointed out. We didn't hit there here, but this time I think we will. And we're going to catch probably some major support here. We might rally back up, but at the end of the day, it's dicey that we might just kind of catch this as support again like this, maybe flip it, maybe, and then, you know, and then we're going down to the next level, which is like 16 to 1800. You know, something like that. And I mean, pretty much like that's, I don't think we would break the, well, I don't think we would break those lows, but if we did, you know, I guess the next levels are like 1,000 or something. But, you know, let's not talk about that because I don't think that Ethereum is obviously a token that should be worth like only $100 billion again. That just doesn't make sense. So I think hopefully we can hold 27 to 2800. Hopefully we can hold now, actually, you know, that would be great to see this sort of break above 4,000. You know, it had trouble, got rejected there before. But I do think that, you know, on a macro time frame, as in like looking out towards the end of this year, so already talking about like the end of next year, I think Ethereum will be higher than it is now. So that's just my opinion. It's not obviously financial advice, but we could see something along the lines of this here. So we come up, we go down like this, we come back up and we rally, and then we take off, something like that, where it's like a W bottom, and you know, we catch support. We wouldn't want to see it come down to that level though. I mean, I think 2000 is also, you know, just kind of that round number support, but hopefully we're not, you know, obviously seeing something like this happen. And even this, like this doesn't even look good. This is more like an M, and then we just go down more. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at for Ethereum. We can take a look at Bitcoin here. it just doesn't look great. For Bitcoin support, I'm looking at like 37.5 is the next thing I think we're gonna touch. I think that's a key level that no one talks about. Because it was really a lot of this support and resistance chop through here that was really deciding the next leg, and then it caught that support that we were rejected at, and then it did this. But honestly, this looks to me like a I mean, I'm just gonna type it in 3 peak and a dome house. I've said this before, but it's pretty similar to something like that. And so we had our leg up here, and now we sort of come down, and we probably go down to like these lows, which is like 40K, I think. Something like down here, at least I would say, because there's just no support. Like, where's the buyers, right? Like, everyone's like, buy the dip. Like, where are they? I just don't see it. We could, I mean, I just don't. I honestly think we could just go straight down because it's just so weak right now. And obviously there was people saying this here too. So, right. So people think like, oh, this is the worst that it looks as possible. But I think that there's just other macro factors right now that are playing out that weren't playing out in, previously when we were down here in July, when we had the markets sort of selling off within this as well. And, Bitcoin has followed, the S&P and the Nasdaq pretty well. But now it sort of has broken through. And, for me, this even sort of looks like a possible head and shoulders. So you have the shoulder here, the head, and then the shoulder here. And so again, it's looking as though we probably will break down to this, the bottom of this other shoulder, which is 37.5. I think we can catch some support there. And, for Bitcoin, we're closer to this sort of like macro support line, but we're not quite there yet. And again, here's another matchup, right? So those are the two, it's crazy how like I've looked at this line for so long and we caught support here on it, and I think I don't even know what I was doing at that time, but you can see this was the, like, look at how that is support, and we caught that same support here. So can we catch that same support at 38 or, around there? I mean, I think we can. We have that we have this previous all-time high we're sitting on here, the first all-time high. But again, it just seems pretty heavy. So I think this will be more of a drawn out correction. And unfortunately, we've slipped so low already that I do think we catch support here, but maybe we do the same thing I said with ETH, and then we're down to this next support, which is like 30K. Obviously, everyone talks about like 20K, but I'm not sure we get there. I think 30K would hold. It'll be interesting though, because I think the Fed is going to crash the markets. So I don't know if that's what they want, but they're going to with this interest rate nonsense. And I don't think that they are able to sustain it. So I don't think that it will work. I don't think they'll be able to hike. I also think we already peaked in inflation. We actually probably peaked in inflation around this all-time high, honestly. Maybe not technically by the numbers, but I think if it's sort of a forward-looking thing with that. So with Bitcoin, so you can say Bitcoin's a hedge against inflation. It's more of like a monetary. It's more of a hedge against monetary policy. And so if monetary policy is getting more hawkish, and we are supposed to just believe that, then that's what people are pricing in. I personally Well, again, I think that they will hike rates, but I think they'll realize quickly that it's a mistake, and then they'll try to go back on it. And then I don't know what happens. A lot of people think that they'll just switch it back and then it'll be fine. But I don't know. They might cause some serious damage to the markets that people are not even expecting. Because if they do this rate hike, and then we have a sell-off, and then they're like, oh, never mind, we're going to print a bunch of money. It's like, where's the credibility is almost like very much lost. And a lot of these like algorithms and people that trade the stock market, they expected they expect the Fed to do a certain thing, to have credibility, at times, with the, the way that they do things. But with this, I think it will just be an embarrassment, and it'll sort of be like, oh, we don't really know if the Fed has our back. And even if they do, this is a Ponzi scheme, basically. So what I think is going to happen, and I was looking at the gold chart, but something that I'm going to be looking at is possibly gold. The guy I follow, Keith McCullough, he put out his call on GLD, but I also just listened to the market sniper, who I respect probably a lot. Like, I mean, just in terms of charting, he's, the more we test this support, essentially, the more likely actually it is to go down. We haven't really touched the upper band very much, and you can see we got rejected hard at the upper band. So there's actually probably more of a likelihood of a down to around 1400, honestly. And then silver to who knows what. I think it's more volatile, so it could go back to like 15 or 16 or something. But I do believe in gold and silver. I do believe that they are real money. And I look at them when I have them, and I look at them and I'm like, I just firmly believe that this is real money. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is a Mexican Libertad 2020. Anyway, let's look at the dollar index if we can, because this is key as well. So we're sitting on a reverse head and shoulders on the dollar here. And a macro head and shoulders, essentially. And this might not even show it, honestly, but let's see if we can look at this on the weekly, get a little bit better of a. So you can see like the dollar has sort of broken this wedge, and it's breaking out here. And this is sort of a bull flag as well that it's forming here. And so the dollar is showing some strength. We have sort of a W forming here. And so I think it will just sort of creep its way up to around 100. We obviously had, the 2020 rally of March got us up to like 102. And, some of these candles that we're putting in, like this was sort of a major reversal, another one rejected at this bottom. So the dollar wants to go higher, and it probably will do it within the next couple months as the Fed raises rates. And so that will also be bad for risk assets like crypto, but crypto is so early, right? So we're just so early that, we should sort of just be thankful that we have the opportunity to possibly buy a massive dip. That's how you have to look at it. You have to look at it as an opportunity of a lifetime, because I started off right after the major crash in 2020. That's when I started accumulating. And to me, it was like the best opportunity of my life. And I just dedicated my entire life to accumulating. And that's how I sort of was able to have a little bit of a bigger portfolio than maybe the average person. It's nothing crazy. I haven't made it yet, but yeah, I worked Postmates. Like I delivered food like every day, like as much as I possibly could. And I knew, and that's when everyone was like, no one cared about crypto. ETH was like 200, Bitcoin was 9,000, and no one cared. And that's when you want to accumulate. And we can talk about trying to trade the market and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about accumulating long-term wealth. And if you believe that our lives and that the lives of the world basically will be decentralized and on a blockchain that gives us individual digital rights, and maybe it's used also by companies who will not give you rights. It's a public blockchain, Ethereum. So, Ethereum is a public blockchain that, I don't know, it allows, anyone to use it. It's an open utility for anyone to use. And I don't know if you guys saw my tweet. I called 208. That's kind of right where we went off here with Matic. Again, I was lucky enough to see this coming. I did tweet about it, that we broke this line here, that we were forming, and we were just sort of testing, bam, down. And the network really wasn't working well either. Like I was using it and I was like, this is ridiculous. It really wasn't working great. So there's your line for Matic. Let's just see if we can draw. Yeah, let's draw this one. Let's draw it like that. So yeah, this is a nice looking support over here. If we possibly go low, like 153. Again, if we get some type of deflationary macro event like we had, like an event that couples, like the Fed doing all this stuff, right? Like a bank hack or, something, a power outage, like a blackout, or who knows what it will be, right? I mean, I don't, no one can predict it. I'm not saying that that's going to happen at all. And I think that the future is bright, with the virus and stuff. I think that it's looking up. I think that this is sort of around the peak. I think everyone's going to have it. So I'm really positive about just feeling like that this is sort of over, knock on wood. And so it's almost like if this is over, like what's, I mean, I don't want there to be something else, obviously, but I'm just saying a lot of these like crashes, like they'll sort of, something will happen that will make it happen. Like the news will be like, oh, this is why it's crashing, right? But it's like not actually that. It's more of just like we were overdue for a correction. I do want to take a look at, like, let's look at the Nasdaq as well, just to see what we're dealing with here. Because this is obviously, something that to me doesn't look great. Again, this is potentially a gravestone doji, same as we saw with Ethereum, although it's not at the top, technically, but it did get rejected a couple different times now at like that level. As you can see, this is a complacency. So it got rejected hard off of that. And now we're playing with these lows, which I don't like to see. And so, this, where are we headed, right? Like, let's do another, like, this is the trend line that I'm looking at. And so that brings us down to around like 234. And that's a nice trend line right before we crashed. Back here, who knows? We probably catch support for that. Maybe, I mean, maybe I could say it happens in March. Yeah, I mean, that's really it's possible in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, it's a big correction, but there's better support here at like 270, even like up here at 290, 296. Those levels. But there is some weakness showing, and we're sort of rolling over on the weekly time frame here. And if we lose these lows here on the weekly, I mean, it's catching support here, but it just doesn't look good. So, it's a good time to be stacking cash, just sort of waiting it out. If you're overexposed, you might want to trim some off just to make sure you have enough to pay taxes and things like that. And I hate being that person. Like, I hate when people say that, but at the end of the day, like, this is like sort of the situation. And I'll be happy to be wrong this time, about the market. So hopefully you guys got something out of the video. Please like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.